It may be for naught.
It might be for naught.
Organize my thoughts, which is a hard thing to do. My thoughts do not want to be organized.
No. My thoughts sometimes just drift around like dust particles.
Yeah. Cannot be swept up.
They can't be tamed. Like Miley Cyrus.
Welcome to our McWorld. I'm Mallory.
I'm Courtney.
And we are back after a while to do another Whining and Whining episode.
Yes.
Where we drink wine and complain about stuff.
Yep. So, here we go.
Here's the wine.
Today, we have Bay Bridge Peach Moscato, which is a super fancy wine. If you haven't heard of it, it's because it's so exclusive.
It's high, top.
It's only available at every Kroger for like $3. So,
I mean, if it fits into your budget,
yeah,
you should definitely try it.
We know it's not for everybody. Also, we know it's not for everybody because it's $3. And some people are snobs, but we're not. We're like Leslie Knope.
Yep.
Would you like any wine to start?
Yes, and I'm going to be direct and honest with you. I would like a glass of red wine, and I'll take the cheapest one you have because I can't tell the difference.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's very peachy.
It is very peachy.
And sweet. I like it.
Very good.
Probably
Very good for whining.
Yes.
Today, we are whining about characters who left a TV show.
Yes.
Now, whether it was because the actor wanted to leave or they got written off the show, and two, these are, regardless of how they left, the show just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
After they left.
Right.
That's a big part of it too, is they left, the show just wasn't, now, the show may have still been okay, still good, still whatever, it just wasn't the same.
Right. Yeah.
As before.
Yeah, so like, one that, it's pretty obvious, the show was never the same, but the show really didn't deteriorate as much as I think everybody expected it to, is when Michael Scott left The Office.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody really thought that The Office would just not survive. But it really was fine. I mean,
yeah, it
still wasn't the same as when Michael was there. But the show, in my opinion, was still very good through to the end.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, that was a time, I think Steve Carell made the decision to leave. So it was kind of he parted on good terms, I think. And he did make an appearance again.
Yeah.
But I'm like you, I still like the show, but it just wasn't the same without Michael. I feel like he was sort of this, he was kind of the core of The Office, even though you obviously, you need characters like Jim and Dwight and Pam and Angela and all them to make The Office, but Michael kind of felt like, he was the one. I mean, the show didn't fall apart or anything, but it was just kind of a bummer.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Another comedy that I have, and this is one kind of the same deal, is when Amy left Superstore. And I think my biggest deal with that was because the show focused so much on her.
Right.
At first, she was kind of focused more on than other characters.
Yeah.
And then, I know the show got canceled, but it's also like they made this big deal about her leaving. Mm-hmm. And then she kind of came back.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know the show got canceled, but they kind of had this string of episodes, and then she was back, and we were supposed to act like nothing had happened, I guess.
Right.
And it was just weird the way it was done. So when she left, I was kind of like, it's not like Amy was my favorite character, but it did seem weird that the way it went from kind of being about her to then she's gone, and now it's like, well, now we're,
Yeah, the show was still good, but it was, similar situation. And, I'm going to kick it old school for a minute here. So, you probably don't even know that this happened, but there was a time when Fred Sanford was not on Sanford and Son.
Really?
Yes, because Red Fox, I don't know if he had some health issues or he just had a contract dispute, but Red Fox left Sanford and Son for like a while.
Wow.
And they subbed in, basically they tried to sub in Grady and just said that Fred had gone off to somewhere, back to St. Louis or something. But Grady was never that great of a character, much less could carry a whole show.
Yeah, be the star.
And so I watched that show with my dad and stuff, and that's super weird. And then really also in a way throwback is when to me, Mayberry RFD is basically, even though it's technically a spinoff, it's an extension of the Andy Griffith Show that doesn't have Andy Griffith on it. So that's weird, but also eventually Don Knotts leaves the Andy Griffith Show. And it's just really not the same without Barney.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, he's the comic relief.
When you lose some of your core characters, it's just...
Yeah. So those are a couple old school ones to where it's like, it was so weird when that happened, you know. And
yeah.
So, yeah.
I think, well, one other comedy, more new school, there's now a spinoff of it, was when Topher Grace left that 70s show.
Yeah.
Because Eric I feel like Eric, for all intents and purposes, was the main character.
Right, yeah.
Him and his family
were
like the main focus. So when he left, it just felt weird, even though, and I mean, I know that Ashton Kutcher had left too at one point. And I think when they were both gone, it just wasn't the same anymore. Like, I didn't really watch it. I watched the series finale, but I didn't watch the last, once both of them were gone, it just wasn't the same show to me anymore.
Right. Yeah, and, now this one I'm kind of going to go a little bit off, but to me, it kind of felt like the characters had sort of left the show in the final season of Parks and Rec, even though most of them hadn't. Like, of course, Ann and Chris left.
Yeah.
Before the last season even. But, the last season was so disjointed, and that show to me had always felt like such an ensemble show that it really included almost everybody in every episode. And, in the last season, like, they would have that, they had the Leslie and Ron specific episodes, and then they would have, like, a specific episode that focused on Tom. But it seemed like people had left the show even though really they hadn't.
Yeah.
It was weird, but the whole dynamic was strange. And it really did feel like people had left the show even when they really hadn't left the show.
Those are really all the comedies I have. If you have any other comedies
No, I don't.
Move on. So, moving on to sort of some dramas, teen dramas we'll start with. So, one that stands out the most to me is Elena, when Nina Dobrev left the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
Because, Elena, the show was set up from day one. Elena was the main character. Her and Damon and Stefan.
Yeah.
And it revolved around pretty much Elena, everything that happened on the whole show.
Yeah.
So when she made the decision to leave the show, obviously, and it's not like people aren't allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And I think one problem a lot of times with shows like that is people they don't have an end in mind.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're just going to keep going as long as we can.
Yeah.
So when she was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and they were like, well, we're going to keep doing it. And the show was still pretty good. They had some decent storylines after she left, but it wasn't the same. It just didn't feel like the Vampire Diaries anymore because there was no Elena.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
So that was always a bummer to me. Like, after she left, it was just kind of like... Now, that was one show that did a really good job in the finale, even though it's always tough when characters leave and they're gone for a while, and then you try to bring them back in the finale and have it make sense, like when your show gets canceled.
Right.
And some shows do it better than other shows, I think, of having that last episode be completely different than what you've been doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one for me.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that one too, because everything did kind of hinge on Elena. And I mean, I do think the last, you know, it was still fine without her, but it was a different dynamic. And, you know, it still just never was the same. Until she came back for those like 15 minutes at the end or whatever.
Yeah. I think with that show in particular, the first 3 or 4 seasons had a similar vibe about them, I guess.
Yeah.
And after that, I mean, even season 4 started getting a little bit off from the first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Not that they didn't have good episodes in there, but I guess after really after season 4 especially, I became less invested in that show as a whole. And then when Elena left, I was like, well, I mean, I'll probably watch it because I've been watching it, but I just wasn't as into it anymore.
Yeah, and another character that left only in a short term and then came back, but his absence was felt to me, was Giles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
It always just seemed, you know, and I know in certain regards they needed to do that to progress the storyline. Mm-hmm. But also, I guess it just always kind of felt like there was a hole.
It's weird when there's no Giles because he's part of the core 4 team of the show, you know.
Yeah.
Without them, it is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also put, so from One Tree Hill, when Lucas and Peyton left, sort of the same thing. Because from day one, I mean, they focused a lot on Lucas, Peyton, and Nathan and Haley from really the first episode. I mean, Lucas and Nathan were pretty much the main characters of the show for the, you know, when it started.
Yeah.
In their lives and who was in their lives. And then obviously more characters started becoming more main characters. Mm-hmm. But when they left, it just... Same thing. I've said this a million times, but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't, you know, after they were gone, even though, like with the other ones, they had good episodes, and it's not like I like Brooke, and I like Nathan and Haley, and, you know, some of the other characters they brought in. I mean, you know, Quinn was fine, and Robert Buckley's character, Clay, he was fine, and Julian, but it just wasn't, I didn't like it as much.
She mad because they sunk her ship.
They didn't sink my ship, but it just didn't feel like One Tree Hill as much after those 2 characters left.
Well, I think too that kind of coinciding with the leap forward in time to where everyone has somehow become wildly successful in their field, and
I don't know how they do that.
They do that on every show and movie.
They really do.
Does this happen in real life? Let us know.
You and all your friends, or you and every person you were friends with in high school, now wildly successful in various career fields.
Yes. Many of which would largely be considered like passion projects / hobbies.
Yeah, are you like actors or professional musicians?
Fashion designers.
You play in the NBA.
Music producers, authors.
Or you like us and you
work a regular
work
job.
A 9-to-5 office job. And make YouTube videos on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't really have... Well, I will just mention this. I don't really know how it affected the show, though, to be fair. But, you know, it was strange when they killed Marissa on the OC, right? Because and I think everybody kind of, like, went off the rails a little bit. But after she died, it wasn't out of protest. It was just because... life. I don't know. I never watched the show again, so I don't really know how everybody dealt with it.
Yeah.
Or how the show ended up. So I really can't say. It must not have been good because they only had 1 season after she died. So, but I mean, I can't swear to it. But I imagine it would be, you know, because I think they tried to bring in Autumn Reeser's character more. I don't even remember what her name was on that show. But, you know, that probably was not going to work. She was not comparable to Marissa. Because she was like a happy-go-lucky go-getter type, I think, or something. So, yeah, I don't know. It must not have gone too well for them.
But that happens on a lot of these shows. it seems like these characters leave and then the show doesn't last that much longer.
Yeah.
And it gets canceled. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can't help it if actors want to leave, you know, but still.
Right.
Another one on my list was from Charmed, I used to watch, is when Prue left, which I think there was some issues with Shannon Doherty and like the creators or something of that show is why she left. She got killed off. But and I know they brought in Paige, which was fine. But the show just didn't, I mean, it was the same. It was okay after that, but it didn't feel like the same show as it was in the beginning when you have the original sisters, and I mean, they had to do what they had to do, but be like, oh, because their whole deal was the power of 3.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to figure out something else. So they're like, oh my gosh, we have this other sister named Paige, so there's still 3 of us. But it was just kind of a bummer when she left, but I mean, you know, things happen, I guess.
Yeah, see, one show that I feel like went the right way, it just did not work out when they lost main characters, was Once Upon a Time. I feel like the writers, the concept was good. The execution wasn't quite there when Snow and Prince Charming and Emma left.
Yeah. It wasn't.
And I mean, it was obviously the show suffered because they weren't there. But, you know, to the writer's credit, though, I do feel like they made the best decision for how to do the show without them, because they basically tried to make a new show.
Yeah, it was just a whole new show.
Yeah, it's just that show just wasn't as good as the old show, which is also what happened with Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, so...
Yeah. I think losing all 3 of them...
Right.
Because I think initially they thought that Jennifer Morrison was going to stay, and then she decided not to. So they had to kind of rework their ideas for Emma.
Right.
But I'm like you, I really love that show, but the last season just wasn't the best. I mean, it was basically like a whole new show.
Right.
So, and it had a decent ending, but I was also disappointed that Emma wasn't really in the finale except for in the last 5 minutes.
Right.
And maybe she was busy or something, I don't know. But it just seemed like, I don't know, it was kind of a letdown. I mean, overall, the finale was fine.
Yeah, it just would have been better, I think, if they had the time. Well, don't even worry about if they had the time. It would have been better to me if they could have just gotten, like, Jennifer, and
Josh
to sign on for, like, a movie. And then just like wrap the whole thing up and close it out, because I mean, I knew they didn't really know they were getting canceled, but when you're losing that many of your main core people at one time, and then, you know, for all intents and purposes, Henry wasn't really gone, but he also wasn't that, it was a different guy.
Yeah, for the most part, Jared wasn't there either.
Right. So
even though you had Regina and Rumple and Hook, it just wasn't Once Upon a Time anymore.
No.
And it was fine, but the other characters weren't. The new Cinderella wasn't that great.
No.
She wasn't that likable. I mean, I know she was having struggles with her daughter and stuff, but I just didn't take to her that much. And she was kind of one of the focuses. Now, the little girl, I liked the little girl. She was funny.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Just, I feel like the characters they brought in just...
I think it was just too hard to get into it. You know, like I sort of wonder, like, what if we never knew Once Upon a Time existed and started there?
Yeah.
Then would it have been successful? I feel like, you know, maybe.
You might have liked it more. I guess it was, you just lost all these people you really like, and it just...
You're thinking all about them, and...
Your show's over. It's kind of what you're thinking.
It just didn't work. But like I said, to give them partial credit, I feel like they at least made the effort to salvage the show instead of just like, you know, like bringing in Luke Wilson to, you know, kind of stand in for Topher Grace, like that 70s show. I mean, like bringing in a subpar character to replace who we lost, you know.
It's kind of, yeah. It was good to try to just reinvent the whole thing.
Yeah.
But, you know.
It just
It didn't work out.
Yeah.
All right, so what I want to mention, even though we can't really say the show is not the same because it hasn't come out yet, is the fact that Simon is not going to be on Bridgerton season 2.
Yeah. I think I have some confidence that they will handle it well, because I do think it's going to shift to the Viscount more and his quest for love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's going to be one of those to where, like, supposedly Simon but see, What's-Her-Face is going to be on there.
Yeah.
But I guess it's going to be more like he's off doing...
He's at home, he's just not here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's not going to be like that at all.
We'll see. Maybe we'll miss him a lot. Maybe we won't.
Yeah.
If they shift, if What's-Her-Face isn't in it that much either, or she's not.
Yeah. How come we don't know her name? What is her name?
Oh my gosh, I don't know what her name is.
I cannot think
What kind of BS is this? We know the man's name, we don't know the woman's name.
Well, in fairness, I don't know her brother's name either, so...
Is it? No.
I think his name is Anthony in real life.
It's something, isn't he? Is it Anthony?
Anthony? Her brother?
Yeah.
That's his name on the show?
Is that his name on the show? Like, it's something, but it's not. It's like a normal name, but not.
Is it?
I don't know.
Phoebe Dynover's her name in real life, so...
Know that, hey.
She used to date Pete Davidson. Who didn't?
Everyone has at this point, apparently. But, so we'll see. That one is yet to be determined on if the show seems different or not. Because everybody else is still there on the one hand, but anyway. So another show, we'll look it up. Another show is The Walking Dead.
I'm looking it up
So
right now.
people leave The Walking Dead all the time, but I think some people make it's more impactful that they're gone.
Yes.
Most specifically, Rick. Since Rick has been like
Daphne. His name is Anthony.
Don't they call him Anthony?
I don't know.
Or is it just their accents that makes it sound like that?
Maybe. But his name is Anthony.
Oh.
Not in real life. In real life, his name is Jonathan. Whatever. Okay, anyway, Walking Dead.
Back to Rick and The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So, Rick was obviously kind of set up from the get-go as the main character of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And everybody else was supporting.
Yes.
And over the years, people got bigger roles. The other characters, obviously.
Yeah.
And even though I still like the show and I still watch the show, it also feels like it has felt like a different show since Rick left. And right after Rick left, it was kind of like, I mean, I have other characters that are probably I like more than Rick, but he was just like the center of The Walking Dead, and then he was gone.
Yeah.
And it just seems different.
And then, to add insult to injury, of course, then Michonne left. And again, they used the time hop situation to try to progress the story.
Yeah.
But, I do think that the loss of the two of them has been more so felt than the loss of other people, like even Glenn, who we loved Glenn.
And when Maggie disappeared for a long time.
Right, yeah.
Like you miss people, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something about them being gone.
It turns the show
Feels
a different way.
Different.
Yeah. Take a drink every time Mallory says the show feels different or it's not the same. I'm over here trying to conjure up a thesaurus brain, and
I'm not.
it is a wine show. Forgive us, we can't come up with enough similes and metaphors.
So another one, this is another one we don't know for sure, but if they make more, is I'm kind of bummed about Emilio Estevez not being on the Game Changers Mighty Ducks show anymore.
Yeah, I'm bummed about that too. I wonder if that'll change, because you know, he had some qualms with COVID protocols and whatnot, and COVID protocols seem to be changing every day, of course, like they have been this whole time. So I kind of wonder though if they will even want to mess with him, if he'll want to mess with them.
Yeah.
You know, assuming that COVID protocols are to his standards or whatever. You know, I just wonder about that.
Will he end up coming back?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he was sort of in and out of that show.
Yeah.
But it was still, I mean, it's the Mighty Ducks. Like,
you gotta have Gordon
the fact
Bombay.
that Gordon's there makes it feel more like the Mighty Ducks, because it's a whole new batch of kids.
Now, if you don't want us to miss him, get Joshua Jackson.
Yeah, man. Bring in Joshua Jackson. You already brought in some of them other people from the originals.
Yeah, where Portman? You know I want Portman. He's my favorite.
Well, I like Banks, and he was on there.
Yeah, we know, with his little dinky man bun or whatever. Banks. I'm going to talk about two things at the same time. Because this is by design, obviously. But it always hits you when companions and doctors leave Doctor Who.
Yeah, it does.
And, you know, obviously that show is the best show at transitioning.
Yeah.
You know, nobody else could do it that way, but also no other show is designed that way.
Yeah.
And so, but, you know, some of course hit harder than others. Like when we lost Rose and then when we lost 10, I mean, like, I literally quit watching the show for a little while.
Yeah, it was a really hard transition. Because Rose was the first, I mean, it was kind of hard when we went from 9 to 10.
Right.
Because, I mean, 9 and Rose were our first Doctor and Companion. That's where we started watching it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a bummer, but we didn't spend that much time with 9. But then we got a whole nother thing with Rose, a whole nother season. And then, of course, 10, he had his multiple seasons. So by the time that David Tennant left, it was even more devastating.
Yes.
And bringing in, because, I mean, I kind of felt like 9 and 10 flowed together. Because you had Rose, and then you had Jack, and then, of course, you had Martha and Donna. But you had this set of people that were here this whole time.
Right.
And then when we started with 11, it was like we're just starting over.
Yeah.
With completely new people. So it was kind of a hard transition.
It was, yeah. I felt like that was a really hard transition. And then, even though Clara went between 11 and 12, Peter Capaldi's first season was just trash. I mean,
it didn't make any sense.
It was hard to watch. I mean, I don't know who wrote those episodes, or if we were just in a weird space. I don't know what was the deal. I've never gone back and watched them. But, you know, like in the first episode, you're wondering if the Doctor killed a person, and like, what even is that? That is not Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's not the Doctor, man.
And so that was hard because, you know, I mean, honestly, after Peter Capaldi's first season, we were even questioning whether to keep watching it or not.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I guess everybody I don't know if everybody felt that way or if enough people did, but then they changed it kind of back to the way it was, and it got so much better after that.
So then you're sad to see 12 go by the time we got to the end of his.
Yeah.
And it'll be kind of sad to see 13 go.
Yes.
Whenever that happens.
Right. But every time it happens, it's difficult.
I think losing 10, I guess because will always be my favorite. That's the hardest.
Yeah.
Even though I liked 11, you know.
Yeah. 10
had a special place in my heart.
Yeah, for sure. Always
will. Now, this is a show where I can't say much about how the show was because I quit watching it. And we've talked about this in other videos. But when Patrick Dempsey left Grey's Anatomy. Now, there's been lots of people leave Grey's Anatomy, obviously.
Yeah.
And when Christina left, when George left,
Yeah.
when Izzy left, because you have, these are the people you start with.
Yeah.
When they start leaving. But then I think when Derek left, it was kind of like the last straw for me. I'm like, or left.
Was written off.
Yeah, it just, I'm like, you know what? We've lost too many. I'm watching the same episodes. It's like the same crap happening over and over in different ways.
Yeah, and
I'm done.
Honestly, and I know this is probably taking it way too personally, but I felt like we had been lied to. And I know I've said this before, but you know, Shonda Rhimes had even said, and she didn't lie. She did not tell a lie. But she had even said, you know, when they had gotten back together, they're not gonna break up again.
Yeah.
Then she kills him. Well, I guess to be fair, they didn't break up again.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult because in a similar vein, I wasn't as invested in ER, but I did watch ER for a while, and it was difficult when Doug left, which was George Clooney's character. Mm-hmm. And his wife stayed because Juliana Margulies played his wife. She stayed on the show. Doug was gone, but they didn't kill Doug.
Yeah, he just wasn't there.
But see, the thing was, though, that I think, and maybe on ER, maybe they had a heads up, because it wasn't that long after he left that Juliana Margulies left the show too, and I don't know if that was her choice or their choice, but either way, she did. So then basically they kind of wrote Carol and Doug off, and, you know, she went and took the kids and moved in with Doug, and they were going to live happily ever after, and everybody kind of got their kumbaya moment. Mm-hmm. And I guess my problem with the McDreamy thing is that at the time, Ellen Pompeo wasn't sure how much longer she was going to stay on Grey's Anatomy either.
Yeah.
Now, turns out, apparently
Forever.
That's changed, because she's still on there, and I haven't heard her talk about leaving in a long time. But yeah, I quit watching the show too because, I don't know, I felt like I've been taken advantage of.
We just lost too many of the characters, and I was tired of meeting new people every time.
Yeah,
all the time.
I mean, Lexi and Mark,
Gone.
in addition to all those other...
Did you break the pen?
No,
What just fell off?
that's what I'm saying. That was a ghost. There's some ghosts in this house. There's some ghosts in this house. I don't really know. Oh, maybe this thing went this way.
Oh, just fell.
I don't know.
That makes sense.
Okay, sorry. Anyway. We're pissed about McDreamy.
Basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just lost too many characters that
Yeah.
I was like, now, you know, they were talking about if they tried to continue without Meredith. I don't know, I guess they still got lots of loyal fans, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't know about that either.
Anyway, I ain't watched it in a long time.
No. Ever since McDreamy died, we were done. Mm-hmm. So,
Can't handle it.
yeah.
The other shows I have I have two more. Are crime shows.
Well, I will say this. In a similar vein to McDreamy dying, another show we quit watching, at least temporarily, was Jane the Virgin when Michael died. Because it really just seemed like a setup to Raphael fans. For Raphael fans, I should say. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously we were Team Michael anyway. I think that's pretty clear from how the way
From the
speaking about it
disdain in your
now.
voice.
Yeah, but it's a difficult concept, and I know it's a telenovela, so there's these different elements, and I know eventually Michael came back in an attempt, I think, to appease Michael fans, which was bunk anyway.
It was worse. He should have stayed dead.
It did not appease me
It did
at
not.
all. So that she could, as Mallory has so lovingly pointed out, choose Raphael.
Over Michael. That's
Right.
the whole reason they brought him back,
Yeah.
I think, so that she could choose Raphael over him because she chose Michael the first time.
It just really irritated us. I quit watching it for a long time.
Yeah, me too. When they were like, Michael's dead, we jumped forward in time 3 years. We were both like, forget it. And we didn't watch the show for like a while.
Yeah. I said well, see, with the telenovela concept, I felt confident that Michael eventually would come back to the show in some way, shape, or form. So I said I was not going to watch the show until he was back on there. And then I think I did wait that long, but I did catch up. We did catch up on it. We took it back
but
begrudgingly.
It wasn't as good.
No. And it was suck. So it was just such a bummer. And I know they have to do certain things, but also everything about that seemed like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And then
I hated it.
The jumping forward 3 years just so, we get no time.
So it's like, oh, yeah, I should be over it now.
Yeah, just be over it because we're moving on now.
I'm not over it. I'm still not over it. How many years has it been off?
I don't know, but I'm not over it either. We're not over it.
I'll never be over it.
Okay, carry on.
Like the How I Met Your Mother finale. But that's not what we're talking about.
I do have one show that's not a crime. Actually, neither one of mine. One of them's halfway crime. I don't know if it's crime. Anyway, the one I want to speak of is Game of Thrones. And that is... Now, this is a weird thing, but the show was never the same after Ned Stark left. Now, by design... Yeah. That sets off everything that happens. Mm-hmm. But I think that show never has a character been more present who was never on the show after the first season. Because I feel like they did such a good job. Now you can see this in the writing too, but they did such a good job developing Ned in season 1 to where you really understood who Ned was, how he was raising his kids, what kind of man he was, to where then you could just see it in his kids throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And then you'd feel his presence and they would talk about Ned and, so it's kind of a strange thing to think. Obviously the show wouldn't be the show if Ned lived.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was kind of interesting. That's kind of an opposite. That's not really complaining. That's like, way to go, I guess. I don't know.
Good for you.
Yeah. And then the other show I'll just mention is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know if you had anybody from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on your list. But...
No, but... Oh, well, I guess from that show, when... There were probably, I guess, 2 times when it was weird. Mm-hmm. Was when Ward left. Mm-hmm. And I know that's a weird one because it did change and it did seem like something was missing for a while after Ward was completely gone.
Yeah.
Even, because he was there as a good guy, then as a bad guy, but then he was just not there at all. And I really thought he would... Now, I did like it when you came back,
Yeah.
The framework, man. That was the best arc because we got to see all these people we ain't seen. Mm-hmm. And there were some bummers on that show. Like, you kind of miss people. But one of the biggest things was in the final season when Fitz wasn't there.
Yes. Yeah, so Fitz not being there was, he's just one of our favorite characters. And... I didn't like all that junk about being in space and the Kree and all that BS anyway. I'm very particular about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I didn't watch it at first, and then I started watching it, and, who else I have on my list? Bobby and Hunter. I loved them. I thought they were great. Mm-hmm. That was probably my favorite time on the show, maybe, when they were on there. And then...
Yeah, they were going to try to do a spin-off with them, and it
did not come to fruition.
Which was unfortunate. I don't think we ever saw Bobby again.
No.
We saw Hunter again.
So, them Fitz not being on there in the last season, like the whole last season, I was just kind of like, on this show.
Yeah, like I like the time travel aspect, and they had some interesting things going through time, I guess. But I really felt the absence of Fitz.
Yeah.
I think he was such a, I guess, I don't know. I guess because he was one of my favorite characters that I really missed him.
Yeah.
When he was gone.
Me too.
So that was a bummer. So I think he was working on a different project or something during that time, but still.
Boo.
I'm just glad he came back for more than just 5 minutes.
True.
But he didn't even come back until the last episode, or like the very end of the next to last episode, I think, which was also a bummer. But at least we had Sousa.
Yep.
Which slightly made up for it.
A little bit.
Because I friggin' love Sousa, but
We know.
he brought something different than Fitz brought, so I still miss Fitz.
Yeah, but he brought it to Daisy, and that was unfortunate.
It was unfortunate. He should have been with Peggy. Fight me on it.
Yep, he should have been with Peggy. And anybody that says different now or at any time in history is wrong.
Different timeline. So I wanted to mention, even though up until recently, and I haven't gotten, well, I've gotten to certain points in this show, but I started watching Criminal Minds again. I used to watch Criminal Minds a long time ago. But to me, the show is not the same. It can't feel the same when you lose, like they've lost characters throughout. Like JJ was gone for a while, then Prentice is gone for a while.
Yeah.
But I think to the point where you lose Morgan and you lose Hotch.
Yeah. Nope.
And it just, like, I'm sad when all these people are not there, but when, I guess even though, I guess because Prentice has left more than once, that I miss her when she's not there. But because Morgan and Hotch have been there the whole time,
Yeah.
when you get to a point where they're not there at all,
Yeah.
it's just, it like the whole show feels completely different. Like because you still have like Garcia and Reed, and even JJ's there, and then Rossi, he's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
But when they bring in new characters, even if you like them, they're not your main, they're not the characters who you watched for all these seasons.
Plus, they sunk our ship again.
They did. Morgan and Garcia forever.
Yeah. They torpedoed it.
They tend to do that.
Terrible.
And I think, I know Shamar Moore wanted to leave.
Yeah.
I think,
To go be on a similar show,
yeah, he's on,
FBI, right?
I don't know, he's on some kind of show like that. They do stuff and things. I think Thomas Gibson got fired.
Yeah, he did.
But still.
He had a couple not so good days.
Yeah, I think the character of Hotch is, I feel like he's a fundamental member of the team because he's always there and he never smiles, and he's just like
So stoic.
that. You just miss it, even though
Right.
it's Thomas Gibson's fault. I guess he got fired, but or at least partially. I don't exactly know why he got fired, except for that he had an altercation, I think, with some people.
Yeah, I think so.
But
That's what happened.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And then my last one I wanted to mention was when Stabler left SVU.
Yeah.
I actually didn't watch it after he left. It's not like I was like, Stabler's gone, forget it.
Right.
It was another one of those shows where, I think with shows like crime shows and medical dramas, I just get tired of them after a while.
Yeah.
And I don't watch them for a long time.
Right.
And then I may pick them up again at some point like I did with Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
But I think because Benson, for now, like as of now, he probably wasn't on the show for longer than he was, considering how long that show's been on. But for me, because I only watched it when he was on there, once he was, like I've seen episodes where he's not there.
Yeah.
And it always seemed weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, that's another ship issue, too, because our ship was not afloat while he was gone.
Could still be.
Also, we really shouldn't have been shipping them when he was there, because he was married to Kathy.
Yeah.
But
now, Kathy got murdered.
Don't seem so happy about it. Creep. Yeah.
I don't watch either one of those shows now, but I heard stuff and things was going on, but I don't know.
I would like to know. So was that everybody you had?
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's what I want to know. So here's your homework, audience. Let us know how you feel if you watch NCIS about Mark Harmon not being on there anymore.
Oh,
because he was, I thought, the whole main character.
I did too. I never saw that show.
That show been on for like 20 years. Mm-hmm. How are they doing it without Gibbs?
Yeah.
I don't even understand. How's it possible?
Mm-hmm.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
What's it like without Gibbs? Are you mad? Is it still fine? Are you just complacent? You've been watching it for so long, you just gonna stick with it till it gets canceled?
Also, if you have any shows or characters that left shows and you were bummed about it.
Yeah.
The show just wasn't the same anymore.
And it felt different.
Don't think I ain't been watching you over there. I'm out, so I can't drink anymore.
She done said it so many times. Just wait until we do anything where anything might be cute. We were at a baby shower the other day, and like we recognize that we say cute too much, but cute is a word that once you are aware of it, it is amazing how often people say it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a cute situation like a baby shower, because
oh my gosh, everything we open.
Everything was cute.
So cute.
And also, that is what everybody said.
Yeah.
Nobody said like, see, that's why if you watch some of our old shows, sometimes we'll say stuff as totes adorbs.
Yeah.
Because we decided we would say that instead of cute. But yeah, it's so funny to me. Once you're aware of something, you're like hyper aware of it.
Then you notice it. Oh, but if you're interested in any of the other content on this channel, who knows what it'll be?
There's no telling.
Then you can check it out.
There's lots of wine.
There's lots of wine.
Yes.
That is for sure. No matter what video you watch.
It doesn't
There's
matter.
a 70% chance there will be wine in it.
Yep.
And we will always describe it the same way.
Yes, we will.
Whether it's $3 or $20, we don't buy really expensive wine.
It's rarely 20.
Mostly it's under 10.
Yeah.
But come back for more videos and check out our other channel called Armic Travels, where we do travel content and travel vlogs from all of our adventures.
Yes. We don't just sit on couches and drink wine. Well, sometimes we go places and drink wine.
Yeah, we sit on other surfaces and drink wine.
Yeah.
We should probably go now.
Yeah.
Just plug up the wine with the chicken. Just kidding, don't pour more in here.
Okay.
Pour more in here, and
I really didn't even think we was going to need that chicken.
we're not going to need the chicken. I don't know what I was thinking.